and Andrew ferenbach.
Just had to get set up. And, well, it's a good thing we have a few researchers in the house. I am also a researcher. Yes, I actually have the title of doctor. And is this microphone working, or am I just speaking too softly? Anyway, the point is, yes, I'm a doctor, so I can prance around introducing myself, saying, let me through, I'm a doctor, but if they're not a sick bacteria, then I can't really help them. And also, you know, working in science, and people ask you, hey, what do you do? And in the past, I would say, well, actually, I work in cloning, which is completely accurate, but it led to the most disastrous conversations of, ooh, can you clone me? Yeah, you think you're the first person to ask me that? I mean, it's as if my job was cloning people to ask me that question. And so I had to change my tactic. And so instead, I would tell people, also truthfully, I work on human genetic disease. Absolutely derail any kind of stupid question about can you clone me? The answer is no, and I wouldn't want to anyway. But the point was, anyway, the point was that once I'd already derailed their humor train, they would think, oh gosh, maybe it's an embarrassing disease like compulsive flatulence, so maybe they can get a giggle out of me yet. Because then they say, ooh, what genetic disease? Is it something I'd have heard of? First, no, and second, it causes intellectual disability in children. Absolutely, there is not a single joke on this green earth about disabled children. So, I mean, sad for the children, but still good for me because it's a little bit less stressful introducing myself to people. I mean, the only time I got a comic response was one time actually at a Halloween party. Happy Halloween, everyone. Is I was being interrogated by a girl dressed as Harley Quinn. I was not complaining. And she asked me, blah, 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 what do you do? Genetic disease, human disabled children. And she's like, oh, is it all children? And I said, well, actually, no, it only affects boys. And she was like, ha ha. I'm like, dude, I mean, that is seriously cold. I mean, not the response I was expecting, but anyway. But yes, we work on human genetic disease, me and my wonderful colleagues. And we do this because, after all, if you do human experimentation, people throw around terms like war criminal, genocidal madman. People get so judgy. So what do we do in order to study this? The answer is we take these here mutations and we copy them into fruit flies, which fruit flies are wonderful little critters because there's almost no permits required. I mean, you can breed 1,000 fruit flies on Monday morning and squash them Tuesday afternoon, and everyone's like, so what are you doing Wednesday? Oh, 1,000 more? Cool. Oh, you're ripping their heads off. Carry on. That's, par for the course. Great. I mean, by comparison, those people in my group who work with mice, oh, the paperwork. If you want to upset 5 mice, you better have paperwork in triplicate already submitted. If you want to upset 10 mice, I'm sorry, you better have a damn good reason. It's 5 or nothing. I'll take 5, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, and yeah, rewinding back to the stuff that we work on, we actually managed to successfully make and breed mentally disabled fruit flies. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Gosh, a fruit fly. They're not exactly the Albert Einsteins of the animal kingdom. They're not going around doing sudokus with their little fly legs. No. So how on earth do you tell that a fly is in actual fact mentally incapable? And it's because in the wild, when a fruit fly is out, chasing bananas, really easy chase, then, if they hear a loud noise, they'll freeze. Because they know maybe a predator whose vision is based on sight, not a velociraptor, but anyway, they freeze for a second, and then when the noise goes away, they continue about their little fruit fly day. But these disabled fruit flies, they don't learn that a loud noise is maybe not going to eat them. So during a thunderstorm, a fruit fly would eventually go, oh, it's going kaboom, but nobody's eating me, cool, and flies about. These flies are like goldfish, so every time they hear a loud noise, oh my goodness, did you hear that? And freeze every single time. They also don't quite grasp bedtime, which yes, flies actually have a bedtime. And these guys know, no, I want to stay up all night, boing, 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 all night long, until they basically wear themselves out. So that's mentally disabled fruit flies. But yes, like I mentioned with the mice work, we actually have to do, we also make mentally disabled mice. That was much harder. We spent a lot of money and many years of research doing this. And I almost feel a little ridiculous because with, courtesy of our orange man in the White House and his friend RFK Jr., they're making me look quite foolish. I mean, there's us, developing and spending all this money to create basically mentally disabled and autistic mice. Yes, more about that later. And all we needed to do was dose the mothers with Tylenol. Do you have any idea how much money we'd have saved? I mean, a pack of Tylenol is, 50 crowns? We spent like 50,000 crowns on the mice. Just boop, boop, yep, autist. Yeah, right. And, science science moves quick, but it cannot move as fast as RFK's imagination. Because last time I was on this stage, which was not that long ago, only a few weeks ago, I thought, yep, I'm up to date with all the current affairs. Nope, the next week, RFK at another press conference says, oh, actually, circumcision causes autism in 50% of cases. What? So it's another case of, so are you telling me I could circumcise these mice and they become magically autistic? I can't believe I'm even saying those words. And I thought to myself, in preparation for this routine, okay, first, can you? And should you? And what? And so I asked ChatGPT, that wonderful source of knowledge. And ChatGPT, I don't know if you noticed, has lots of fail-safes that discourage cruelty or illegal behavior or questionable things. So when I asked it, can you circumcise a mouse? ChatGPT immediately shut me down and said, oh my goodness, no, we cannot condone animal cruelty, anything that would result in harm to animals, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, okay, can it be a thought experiment? No, thought experiment, no. Eventually I had to explain, I am in actual fact a scientist and a comedian, I want to make fun of RFK Jr. Can a mouse be circumcised? And only once I'd qualified with all of those criteria, it finally said, okay, well now that I understand where you're coming from, yes, if you really, really, really wanted to, you could circumcise a mouse, but it's very risky, and you'd be surprised, a mouse are not very intimidatingly endowed, thank goodness. And so, it would be in the field of microsurgery to circumcise a mouse. But yes, this is not what we're going to do. I guarantee you none of my colleagues are looking into mouse circumcision as a way of saving money. We will continue doing how we're doing, spending the money that we're spending. Pardon me. And I know, a little bit out of left field, I am a scientist, obviously, but I'm also a legacy scientist, which means my grandfather and grandmother, they were also scientists. It's one of those, inherited genetic things, but it skipped a generation. My mother was a dentist. That's a story for another time. And I bet you're wondering, or maybe not, what on earth did Andrew's grandfather do that made him an icon of his time? And the answer is, he was one of the leading experts in winkles. You're probably wondering what on earth a winkle is. They're a funny little shelled critter that sits on rocks and generally lives out their life with the sea sloshing over them. You get the picture. They're not very exciting. But he poured his heart and soul into winkles. And one thing the scientific community in the 1960s could not do was get winkles to breed in captivity. Yes, I can't believe I'm saying those words. But people would spend lots of money. They would get wave tanks, they would get rocks, they would get all the bits and bobs. The winkles, no, having none of it. No hanky-panky, the little crustacean legs stayed together. They just couldn't do it. So if you wanted more winkles, you'd have to go out and catch some. And then my grandfather came along in my grand's kitchen, I kid you not, with just a Flora margarine tub and a mug of seawater, splosh, dropped in the winkles, and it was as if he'd opened a tequila and put on Barry White. Suddenly, those winkles were making more winkles like it was going out of style. And yet he turned the scientific community on its head. All of a sudden, respected scientists, they would recreate his study, and sure enough, in the privacy of a margarine tub, those winkles were getting busy with it. So yes, scientists, they had to include on their grants, oh, you have to spend this much on Flora margarine tubs for winkle procreation. Go figure. I mean, once you've made them, sure, stick them in the tank. But that was my grandfather's legendary contribution to science. That, and also, he was the only man who could identify a subspecies that was actually 3 species. And you'd think, he gets to name them. Great honor, great opportunity. I mean, what are you going to name them after? The 3 Musketeers? His 3 children, maybe? Hint, hint. No, he called them, wait for it, A, B, and I mean, holy missed opportunity, Batman. Is it just me? I'm almost nervous closing out this routine because what on earth is RFK Jr. going to say next week, and I'll have to be out of date already. Anyway, you guys have been wonderful. Thank you very much.
Give it up for Andrew ferenbach. And keep it going for the next guy, Jakob Kuka.